Welcome, everybody, to the inaugural episode of Champions of Tabletop. I am going to be your host, Matt, and with me, the other champions sitting at the table, the throne of board gaming. We've got Shay there on the end. We've got Dion here in the middle. We welcome you to our first show. We thank you for your time and joining us today. So, gentlemen, let's just get right after this. We've got a lot to share. And what I love about the champions, and I'm going to call it COT going forward, is our what brought us together is we all come at this from something very different. Shay is coming to us as an aspiring board game creator, somebody who wants to get into the field, and he's going to bring the expertise of the knowledge of how to design a game. We've got Dion, who is the friendly local game store owner here at Voss Media, where we're filming today's episode in Galesburg, Michigan. So he's going to have that knowledge of somebody running a business in the industry themselves. And I just am the guy who backs way too many Kickstarters and spends too much money. So I'm like most of you out there. So the fandom, the love and passion of the hobby, that's what makes us the champions here. And gentlemen, it's a pleasure to be on this journey with you guys. Looking forward to it.
Excited to be here.
It's going to be groovy.
Yeah.
You know, with extra G, you know,
Extra
groovy.
G.
Almost
Extra.
like Kenny G.
Okay.
Well, that kind of groove.
We'll get into that later. So champions out there, let's get right at it. One of the things that we love to do is bring you into who we are and why we got into this hobby. Just like yourselves, we all have our own stories of what connected us to the board game. So we'll start with Shay. Shay, what got you into board games?
What got me into board gaming is because I was a simp. What a simp is somebody who has a crush on a certain somebody. And that's who I was. Yes, it's the story. That's the truth. We're being truthful here.
Yeah.
So
Unabated truth.
on the better
Transparency.
truth. Exactly.
So who are you simping for?
Okay, I was sent for an actress, and this actress is in a couple of shows that I liked when I was a kid. Now, this
Transparency, Shay. What was the
Transparency.
actors?
it was an actress.
Oh, we got to hear the name. We got to hear the name. These people want to know.
Her name was Allison. She's in Warehouse 13 and Drake and Josh. Anyway, but I seen her in an episode of Resistance. And that's kind of got me into it because I was like, oh, I never see her in anything. Click. And then I got addicted to Resistance. In fact, me and a whole bunch of people at college just played Resistance. One person in particular I could think of, it will always be the spy. And you know who you are. But anyway, that's why we got right there, and then we played more games, and then I bought more games, and I'm really happy because on the tabletop show, I end up getting games before they actually did it. So it was like, haha, I know I'm part of it now. And so now I just make games.
Okay.
That's
Awesome.
pretty me.
And we're going to get into that more here in a little bit. And then Dion, why don't you tell us, because you obviously have a lot of connection to the industry now, but what got you into board games in the first place?
I don't know. I was playing board games back in that's how old I am. 90s. I was always enjoying board games. And I think the modern age of board gaming changed quite a bit. Before this, I was in video game development. And what we would do a lot of times is use a board game to kind of break up the meetings and so forth. So I became more addicted to board gaming as an outlet, way to escape. Tired of playing video games all the time or other things. So I started going more into board gaming and really enjoying a lot of the new modern stuff that's been coming out over the last 10, 15, 20 years that is just amazing. So that's what got me into board gaming. I think a title, for instance, that really clicked for me was Dominion. When I played that, I was like, oh yeah, I love this and I need to do more of this. I think for a lot of guys our ages, especially, or right around from that 30 to some in that range, from 30 and older, 30 and older, 30 plus. There we go. We miss that couch co-op feeling. And I think even more so after COVID that we miss sitting across from each other and just giving that trash talk or just trying to maybe kill zombies together or whatever it may be. And you miss that couch co-op feeling.
Right.
And I think with board gaming, that fills that gap, especially recently, due to everything that's happened in the world. So,
yeah. And, my story is kind of the same. I grew up playing board games as a kid. I remember Risk, and I would always only play if I was black because I'd always say the Black Plague is coming. But for me, I got away from the hobby for a long time. And then, kind of the same as you, especially after COVID, lost my mom. And so my dad, my brother, nephew, the three of us kind of really found it as a way to kind of connect with him, get him out of the house. And then next thing I knew, just that collection side of board games and, wanting to have every new title kind of took hold. And so next thing I know, my wife hates me and my wallet hurts and spend a lot of time here at the shop.
Welcome to my world.
That's right. Exactly. Look around.
Look around.
And so to me, it was a way for us, just like you said, Dion, of that connection and staying close to the people around you. And, video games are great at bringing people far away close, but they're also great at taking people close and pushing them far away. And I think that board games is the flip of that, of saying, nope, we're going to bring everybody close and stay connected and bring you together. And I'm sure a lot of people out there, that's exactly the passion that brought you into the hobby as well, of wanting to be close to the people who are close to you, which I think is fantastic. So now that we got the mushy stuff over, Dion, why don't you kick us off with, what do you like when it comes to a board game? Like, what are the mechanics that drive you?
For me, I'm going to be called an elitist, but if you put a game out and you're like, this is work, I'm probably going to enjoy it. Mm-hmm. Games like Lisboa, The Weather Machine, Venhos, Rococo, Combat, I just named a lot of Lacerdas, but a lot of Euro style games I'm into. If it's less random and you sit across from me and beat me strategically, I have much more respect for the game, for you, for everything else. So I like harder thinking where I can just get lost a good 2 to 3 to 4 hour game and just be lost in the world for a minute. So I think for me, that's what I like most about my style of board gaming.
Jay, how about you?
Well, I like a different Amerithrash is what we're going to call it, because that's what it is. It's amazing. And it's more thematic. We're talking like Final Girl, which my favorite game. We're talking about
stealing my thunder of the next thing, but yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, well, I think it didn't say
it's okay. No.
Okay, never mind. It's not my favorite game.
I'm not going to ask you a question. Yeah.
But like Final Girl, like Skyrim was a good one. But then I'm silly. Like, I like a goofy movie just because it's a goofy movie. I like really cutesy games like Here to Slay. Love it. And then I like randomly logical games. So like Turing Machine. So I have like this like aesthetic of like whoever I feel I want to play. Like, I can play a heavy game, but it has to be the right theme. I can't play half of the games that are red sticker here. But if you talk about want to build a zoo, I can do that. If you talk about you want to run and you don't trust people because they're on a ship with an alien, I'm totally into that. So it's a little bit about that.
I would say for myself personally, I would go with a little out of the box, but dexterity games. To me, maybe it's my northern roots here, but Crokinole is absolutely one of my absolute favorites. Something about dexterity. I know we've talked in the past. One of the hidden gems to me is Beano. It's a tabletop soccer game where you use your finger and flick the ball as if it's a soccer ball. To me, those kind of athletic games, I grew up playing baseball and sports just in general. So those kind of themes and getting to use myself, fingers in a way that kids show age appropriate, in ways that let me show my dominance. I'm always, it makes sense. It's appropriate kids show. But yeah, so it's one of those things that whenever you can do one of those, and I forget the name, there's that flick game where you build like a racetrack around
Pitch Car.
Yeah, that's like one of my grail games, since they don't make it anymore, that I absolutely would love to have. So dexterity for me is unequivocally always going to be my favorite.
Isn't dexterity just like a toy? Like, isn't
it's not a toy? It's a board.
Well, I mean,
what is Crokinole on?
Well, I understand that, but it is like, it's a toy. It's like a kid's toy. You just mentioned like flicking stuff back and forth, and it just seems like a total toy to me. I don't, it's hard for me. And again, I might sound like an elitist, but it is so difficult for me to say, oh, Crokinole is a board. It is a board game. I understand it. It is a fun strategic game.
Older than Monopoly.
It is. Is it older than Monopoly?
It is older than Monopoly.
It really made a rebirth recently.
I'm throwing chess out there too. You make fun of chess? The granddaddy of board games?
Because chess is actually a thinking man's game. You can't. You could flick and I don't know.
Think about how you get a flick.
When I take the king, I flick it. Flick.
I just said, to me,
dexterity.
There are like ice cool. I agree. That's a cool little board game that has this neat little element where you're flicking it through and collecting these fish, and that's great. But if you go into like what the game you explained, that feels like foosball or a toy of some sort, or a cat and mouth where you're trying to flick these little balls through the cat's mouth.
That's also
it's a toy.
It is board. It's a tabletop game.
All right. We can agree to disagree. On the tabletop. It's a toy that
you don't put foosball on a tabletop. It has its own table.
It literally is a tabletop.
All I know is I'm going home.
When you talked about it before, I did like a little deep dive. I want to play. Yeah. And I know you won't carry it. Game. So I want.
Do you want me to get a dome hockey? I'll bring that with super checks.
Let's go.
There's a couple of games back there that I want. Like there's a game called it's a golfing game. It's just like Pitch Car where you set up your own thing.
Holes.
And you just go flick it in, and then there's an Olympic
just
game.
Lost between both of you because it's a toy that you put on the table and you flick something or do something. So I can go home and play with my He-Man collection. Yeah. And I'm dexterity now.
Here's the thing.
That's the difference.
Well, no, because I'm gonna flick the other guy, and then I'm gonna try to knock him down.
First of all, when you get your He-Man toy, right? And then what you do is you put them down and then you flick them. That's what you do with your He-Man toys?
Just saying, you can create a game around it and then make it go, this is a game.
Well, I'll just say this. Just remember that every small village may have a champion, but there's also champions overall. So you have your village. Shay and I will be the champions.
I guess.
You know what? Leave it in the comments. Is dexterity games board games, tabletop games?
I'm not saying they're not tabletop games. I'm just saying.
No, you literally said that earlier.
We're winding back. Rewind it back.
The cat's mouth.
That's also
it's a toy.
It is board. It's a tabletop game.
All right, we can agree to disagree.
On the tabletop.
There are toys. That feels more like you're playing a toy, not a game.
Okay, Mr. Toy. Let's move on to what is your favorite game, since you've now poo-pooed literally all over my favorite hobby. What is your favorite game, so I may take my shots upon thee?
Well, now I'm afraid to tell you because I don't want you to poop all over my favorite game. I did. My favorite game right now. It's in my top one.
Terrible choice. I don't even need to hear it.
It's My Father's Work.
Mid.
It's a great game. It's a good game. It mixes the love that I have for tabletop role-playing game, and it has great elements with amazing pieces, and it mixes it together to make this really good game. Right now, I want to play that all the time, so that becomes my number one favorite. But I have other games that fight all the time for the top 5 that I'm like, oh, I really, really like that. In fact, if you come into the store, I'm constantly going, oh, that's in my top 10. That's in my top 10. I think I've named about 20 that are in my top 10. But
math works out.
But it moves constantly based on what I want to play right now. But right now, my number one game, I've played it 14, 15 different times and had 15 different endings. They have these really cool packs that come with it. I hope that they work together with Renegade and release more. Because I think that I would really enjoy playing a different element because you have all the right pieces.
And I will say one of my favorite board game Deluxify components is the vials, those little clear vials that come with a little cork.
That's pretty cool.
I'm like, man, so tiny. Shay, how about you?
Well, if you're talking about favorite games, there's a couple things that break. Let's be real. It's Final Girl. It's forever until maybe later, but for at least 2 years straight, it's been Final Girl. Was this solo plus game where you're the final girl of a feature film. They are all mixed and matchable. So you can literally be like their Freddy, but you're in the spaceship where aliens at. Or you can do like the Puppet Master, but the Puppet Master is in Antarctica, like in The Thing. And it's so good. It puts away so cleanly. And that like a game could literally would be a 7 to a 10 or a 10 to a 7 just based on that little fact. So Final Girl.
Okay, fair enough. Mine is a little bit of wild card because I was going to say crokinole, but now I'm completely self-conscious of my opinions.
Crokinole could be your number one game.
No, it's not allowed to be,
It's like in the BGG top 100. So.
Yeah, well, right. BGG top 100. What are on those? Board games.
But it
Boom.
It is a toy.
Settled.
Boom,
there we go. Now we can move on. He just proved my point.
Right, it is a board game. I'm not saying it's not a board game. I'm just saying it feels like a toy.
It's a tabletop game.
All right, we can agree to
on the
disagree.
tabletop.
Toy.
So I'm going to go with my favorite game is one that is not that well heard of. And it's mainly because I love the publishers. It's called Skytear. This is a MOBA based game. This was one of the first board games that I bought when I got back into the hobby. Skytear Horde came out recently on Kickstarter. Great little card battler, kind of castle defense type of game. But Skytear to me is just one of those games that always has caught my attention because I love the fact that every hero is so unique. You're building a group, just like a MOBA. You're trying to attack the other team's base. You have minions spawning on both sides in the towers. They have in the middle of the board what is called an outsider. So it's this giant character that you can control and take advantage of. So you're trying to position to try to gain access. Every game is different because there's always 3 win conditions and there's a set of cards that come with it. So every game will have a different way to win the game. So every game has that fresh feeling. But again, kind of tying into another mechanic I love of, the cards and deck building. So it does have an importance on playing the cards with the spells and abilities. And so the heroes, the minis are gorgeous. And the 2 brothers who built the game, Skytear Games, I remember, trying to get into it and being on Discord and, having back and forth with both of the brothers from Europe. And it was amazing that they were giving so much time to somebody who wanted to buy their game. And that meant a lot to me is, wow, these guys are giving me all this time to try to sell one copy of a game, but they love their game. They're passionate about it. They give everything. They're always super engaged with their YouTube channels and their Facebook channels. So to me, I'm going to give that the big thumbs up. So the guys at Skytear Games, great job. So with that, that kind of rounds up our top game. So you're learning a little bit more about us and who we are. And over time, of course, we'll love to, like an onion, peel us back over time and get to know us.
We'll make you cry.
And he will make you cry. That's why I use that analogy. Thank you, Dion. So what a perfect time to go into the pits. This is where every week. So for those of you who don't know, we've got our producer Brandon, who's in the background, trying to figure out the sounds of this and
of his life. Yes. You ruined. Did you watch that other video?
No.
Did you watch that other video that we did?
No.
Oh yeah, dude. He the best part of that entire video. You go. And the butcher's dead. And he did the deep voice. He goes, the butcher's dead. And it was like, I stopped, paused. I had some in my mouth. I had to spit it out.
Well, maybe
I was laughing so hard.
Maybe we can get that going for the next one.
Run it back. Yes, run it back. Do the pit. Welcome to the pit. Like that. And then he can just kill it now. So
let's try it again. All right, on the fly. This is where we learn, everybody. So welcome with us. So get ready for the pit.
You just did it with your voice.
That's what a champion does. That's why we're the champion. That's what we do here. So with that, let's get into. So what is the pit? You might wonder. The pit is going to be our place where every week we're going to go into a hot topic in the industry. And this week, we're going to get into one that I have been seeing talked about constantly. There are a lot of companies like Awakened Realms and Lucky Duck who have been implementing this a lot in their games. And to me, it doesn't seem like a big deal. But man, is this a divisive topic in the industry. So let's talk about what place do apps have in the industry. So I'll just say this right now to kick this off. Guys, I love a well-implemented app in a game. I'll use Oathsworn as a great example. I just got the version 2 Kickstarter. Maybe some people saw my post on the BGG Facebook page of me trying to sneak the boxes downstairs because I was trying to hide it from my wife so she didn't know the sins I committed. And, the fact that they have so much of that now narrated. ISS Vanguard, again, a great narration. My Father's Work, phenomenal implementation of an app. Destinies. I mean, I can go on, but to me, honestly, especially when it comes to the lower parts of games, to have a high paid voice actor to kind of really set the tone with great music in the back. Isosphere Vanguard, I think it's the new one on Kickstarter. That one, they're implementing a new app. And for campaign games, I just feel like it brings you into it so much. So I'm a big advocate of apps.
I wasn't in the beginning. So I was very against apps because it's not phone time. It's not app time. It's playing a board game and disconnecting from all electronics. And a game came out, Fantasy Flight had a game come out, Lords of the Rings. Journey to Middle Earth, I think is that one. And it had an app assist. And I was like, and I pushed it off for buying it for a while because of the app assist. But once I got to the table, we played it. I was like, you need this app. Like, this app is important. And then you've seen games during that same time or just before that time. You've seen games like Mansions of Madness starting to go to more of an app assist because they went to that second edition. You've seen Descent moving to more of an app based. And I'm okay with apps. The apps I don't like is like Search for Planet X. I think Search for Planet X has a horrible, let's all play on my phone. And yeah, we're doing something here, but it's not as important as doing it here. And, Deal with the Devil's another one that Brandon's pointing out over there that it's just, it's okay. It just doesn't feel like it needs to be there. I understand why it helps with the randomization.
Becomes a problem with the app.
And even, my favorite game, My Father's Work, I think that the app, first of all, when it got released, it was like 2 months before the app came out. So you're just sitting here with a bunch of pieces you couldn't play, which was very frustrating as a consumer or even as a retailer selling it and going, oh, by the way, I know you just spent money on that. You're not going to be able to play that for a little while. So it was extremely frustrating for a lot of people. So
at least you could use those tiny veils as like little measuring cups.
Well, to hold all your tears for crying.
Miniature cookies.
well, from your wife yelling at you how much you spent on the game.
Are tears, yeah.
So the problem I have with an app is that it has to be good. There's people that are doing it amazingly, but like you mentioned, a couple. ISS Vanguard does a really good job. The Oathsworn, and I have to mention a couple that are probably my favorite beyond, I think does it the best, is Forgotten Waters and Freelancers. I think the guys over at Plaid Hats just have got it down. We were just at an event recently at Alliance, and I was talking with the wife of a gentleman that actually does the app for it. And she was like, oh, my husband voices. And I was like, he's amazing. Go home and tell him he's amazing. Because it really brings you into the game.
Maybe a bro.
Yeah, I was trying to help him out. Yeah. I was hooking him up.
Hopefully he got lucky. I don't know. Yeah, good for you.
But I was very against it. Now I'm for it, but I also don't want them to use it. I don't want them to continue utilizing it as a crutch, right? As something to just throw into a game and go, oh, they got this app. If the app is crap, and I say that's where the downfall of My Father's Work is the app. It's nice that you get to click the button and you get to make decisions around the table and everybody gets this feeling of, oh, I'm changing the way this board looks or works. The problem is the app sometimes reads to you, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it has voices, sometimes it doesn't. And everything's not voiced. They very half-assed did it, right? I mean, they kind of cut it in half and pushed it out. So if you're gonna do an app, go full. Go ISS Vanguard, pull out Forgotten Waters, pull out Freelancers, and look at the way they do their apps and utilize their apps and then go at it. I think Lucky Duck's been doing it for a while, so I think they've got a pretty good ironed out on how they're doing their apps. But Jay, that's my opinion on it. I mean, Shay,
you sit in the pit now. How do you feel about it?
I personally love apps and games if it's done right. In fact, I can throw it out in a different way. Like, my favorite app for a game is called Dizzed. And it's the one that will literally, if it has it on their app, it will teach you and walk you through a turn of a game. So very recently, or last Halloween, not very recently, last Halloween, we played Night Cage. And the Night Cage they have is a vibe. Like, they have creepy music goes along with it. It will tell you how you run the first turn, how you set it up. So, like, I like apps and games, and I wish there were more apps kind of like Diz, or Diz did more games. Because if you're just at home and you didn't have like one of us teaching you something, let's just have something in your hand that you can be like, okay, you could, and yeah, that's how you do it. Yeah.
I think that is more of like an app that's based on board games, not an app that.
Yeah, it's a support tool.
It's like a support tool.
Yeah.
Which I'm
no, we're not going to
100%
be kind
behind
to you here,
support
Shay,
tools.
because you're in the pit.
No, that's
you're in the pit.
It's an app for games. It's an app for games. Why? What's wrong with being an app for
No,
games?
we're
I'm just
saying,
saying
we're
that
saying
that's-
like a part of the game.
part of the game.
Yes.
So
Okay.
if you open that box, are you excited that they're going to say, fire up the iPad, fire up the projector, or does it frustrate you of like, I don't want those things, just let me put my crokinole board on the table and play a great board game?
See, I'm a millennial. I'm good. I love a good app. If the app works well, it works well. Turing Machine is of my favorite app because
they do a good job.
Because literally you can just do all these millions of puzzles by just going to the app. It'll show you what cards you need to put out to play it. And so I'm down with apps. Again, if it's bad app, that's just a bad app. And nobody like bad apps.
Well, I mean, what do you think about getting into something like what's it, tabletop simulator and stuff? I mean, is that
Well, again, that's a platform to play a game. To me, that's not an app. That's a platform of a game. To me, an app in a game is, like I said earlier, Destiny's literally right over your head.
Destiny's, yeah.
It's a great example
I
of
agree.
You are not playing this game without the app. You know, I think you can look at a game like Gloomhaven or Frosthaven even now that, you know, does that add value? You know, I think that's a great question to ask of, if I spend $15, how much value do I get because they're providing great quality narration to me to simplify a big, thick book? Again, same thing with Oathsworn. You don't need the app. But to me, why I love that app in the game is because it enriches the experience, because the deep, hollowing voices just makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside as I'm fighting a horrible rat monster. To me, like I said, I think that just adds such an extra element of enjoyment to a game, just that brings me in. So with that, I think we can kind of come to the conclusion that, again, we'll just say that I am, of course, the victorious person coming out of the pit of apps being a part of games.
Hold on.
Wait.
Of course.
There was a battle?
I didn't know that.
We were in the pit. We were literally in the pit.
I didn't know. Yeah, like
What do you think you do in a pit?
we all just agreed.
We all just agreed.
Just
So
cuddle in the middle.
Two underwhelming gladiators fighting a ferocious lion that just literally stormed.
I didn't know it was like that. We can go back. We can
Why do you
rewind
think
the
I do
tape.
the deep voice of?
Right? I mean,
See, now
It's
I
not
know.
like it's
See,
not
look,
cuddle
that's
session
okay.
time.
Now
we
I
kind
know.
of did, and that
That's
when we
all I'm
all
gonna
agreed,
say.
we cuddled in the middle, held hands,
No,
said kumbaya,
now I know.
and that's what we did.
Until the lion came.
Just remember
Again, one
that you started this. I just
we
need
go.
you to remember that you started it. That's
You
all I
started
need.
it. Next
I
time the
finished
puppet
it.
word.
And with that, I'm going to finish this segment of me being, of course, the champion of the pit this week. So with that, we're going to move on to this week's game spotlight. So this is going to be our opportunity to share with you something that we're playing, something we're excited about. And so we'll start with Dion, the friendly game store owner here at Voss Media in Galesburg, Michigan. Small plug. And Dion, why don't you share with us what game you want to spotlight for this week?
This week, I'm going to more or less spotlight not a game, but a studio. It's Trick or Treat Studios. We hooked up at the recent event and they said, hey,
Are they the sponsors of this video?
I'm just saying they are the
Should
ones
be.
that hooked me up with a bunch of amazing gifts to give away for our Escape the Asylum event going on in Spooktober. They also have some really sweet games that they're allowing me to release and unbox for them. And do like a launch party type of situation. We're doing Halloween this coming up, which is the Michael Myers Halloween game, Hidden Movement. We're also going to be doing the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. We're going to be doing that one actually the 5th. So I'm very excited about them as a studio and how they were willing to open up and say, hey, let's work together, a small game store, and let's do something amazing. Which for me, I'm not highlighting a game, but I'm highlighting all of their games. Zombie Mania. Hey, right there you go. I gave you one.
All right. Well, I appreciate it. Now, I will say, I already know Shay's. He doesn't have to answer for me. It's going to be Saxy time with Kenny G. Quick.
First of all, if you're going to make fun of the name, you might as well say it right. It's Kenny G keeping it sassy. And the reason why they bring it up right here, we made it. See, you look at this box.
I mean, we're going to the full screen there.
school
Gonna
stream.
blind with the gold.
This box says amazing. This is not the game I was going to say.
No, it's not.
Well, real quick story here. So the first time I ever met Shay, I come into Voss Media here in Galesburg, and I'm just kind of looking around, and this very amiable person comes up to me, and Dion wasn't here at the time, so I was just kind of engrossed in his passion. And I walk in and there's rose petals all over the floor. There's lights and candles lit up in a board game store. And I said, well, apparently I said the code word to get into a place I wasn't expecting.
You
and
pay
then
extra
next
for
thing
that.
you know,
That's a membership fee. You pay extra for it.
If you join our Patreon, you'll find out.
Yes.
But so then Shay here introduced himself with his Kenny G hat on, and that was my first experience, is him telling me about keeping a sexy with
and
Kenny
to
G.
give some background before Shay gets going, it was No Shame November, and we were playing games in November last year, games that don't get played. They were just, we were kind of going No Shame November and throwing those out for all the shame shelf that we have of the games that just don't get to the table. And thanks to Shay working here at Voss Media Board Game Cafe, he went full blown on it, which you can't. He did a bit and it was perfect and it worked great and we really enjoyed it.
So Shay, what since it's not keeping it sexy,
I kind of now wanted to be keeping it sexy. But it's not keeping it sexy. It is the Alien RPG. I have been reading that book and I cannot wait. Like, I love horror games, like deep love. And the Alien RPG gives you that feel of it. And I'm just excited for it, to be completely honest. I'm running it and it's going to be great. People are going to die. We're going to live happy ever after.
We're doing that on like one of the one-shot tabletop one-shot nights. That's gonna be a lot of fun.
Oh, so yes, that is going to be my game.
sounds
Alien
very
RPG.
Alien-esque that nobody comes out alive.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the aliens come out alive.
Some of them.
Some of them. Most of them this game.
So I think for myself, the game that I have to spotlight this week is going to be one that I just close your ears, Dion. One that I just got from GameFound is Damashi from Awakened Realms Light. I have really, as I'm sure a lot of people have, been loving Cyberpunk
2077.
Yeah, I don't know why that was so hard to remember. But with the new 2.0 update that just came out and Liberty just came out, so the game is absolutely phenomenal. And Tamashi just showed up yesterday, and I'll tell you what, just the mechanics of it, of hacking your board and moving your pieces to kind of unveil the new areas, and using again your hacking abilities to kind of manipulate the board and go after opponents and try to defeat them. And just something about the aesthetics. It's just got that neon, flashy, hot pink everywhere. Game just looks absolutely fantastic. So that to me is the spotlight. So real excited from Awakened Realms Light to get that one. And if they put them in the friendly local game stores, I'm sure that'll be a topic for us to approach sometime soon. Having Dion here as a board game store owner is, what do we think about that and the sales of game, crowdfunding versus in store. So we'll get to that soon, Dion. But Tamashi is my ones here. So all right, boys. Our favorite segment. Feet to the fire. This is where I don't want you to think. I just want you to answer me. And so today's feet to the fire is very, very simple. And I don't want it to be your favorite game. Backstory, transparency, friend show here. Here's the deal. We did our little mock through and I got ruthlessly made fun of on how we did this. And when we watched it back, it was the best segment. So with that said, I don't want it to be your favorite game of all time. I don't want to hear about Final Girl. I don't.
How dare you, by the way.
We always want to hear about
We can talk about chapter 3 coming up. But right now, feet to the fire, answer me this. What is one game people have to play right this minute?
Who going first? Last time you
I'm looking
picked
right
first.
at you, big boy.
Yeah, I think he was looking at you. He skipped over me.
What game people need to play right now is 13 Dead End Drive.
Okay.
Yes. because it's right there and I see it. And since and it seems like a game we should play right now. Especially because that game, you actually have traps you actually on trigger and different people. It's really good.
Okay, all right. Well, Dion, feet to the fire. Go.
The Weather Machine. We played it last Thursday. We unboxed it, and I can't wait to get it back to the table. So I would play that right now on the spot. It's Lacerda's new one, and I really am a big fan of what he does. So I would want to get that back out on the table. It has a bunch of sweet little pieces. Eagle Griffin does the games right. Like they get you all excited and happiness without having to pay tons of money for a Kickstarter. Sometimes they do Kickstarters, but still, we're not talking about that right now. Anyway, that's the game I would like to get back. It was a really fun game that had some cool elements to it. I don't feel like I could wrap my head fully around it the first time I played it. It was definitely a thinking game, and I would want to get that back to the table to see if I can do better than I did my first time that I failed. So,
okay. Well, your feet are on fire. That was a very long answer. For feet to the fire, I want one quick answer.
Well, I thought you wanted me to explain why I chose it. I just didn't want me to name it out and just throw it out there.
Right for you, huh?
I know, right?
Right.
You didn't want me to pick my favorite game.
Right, which would have been. So I went random because actually I looked at that.
You drew
that game.
You will eventually learn how this works, and I look forward to that day, gentlemen.
But see, I don't think you understand the stress of what you're doing.
Like we're just getting beat up.
It's kind of like if we be like feet to the fire, Matt.
Crocodile.
No, I was going to ask you the question you already know. I was going to be like, feet to the fire. What game is coming out that you really want to play right now?
Well, hey, that's the beauty of this show is that's where we're going to go with this is every week somebody's going to get to bring a feet to the fire question. We're not going to know. And it's just right off the cuff. That's how we want this to be.
Okay. If we can switch up.
Quick.
That was more fair
moving.
than what it was before.
Mine is Osworn, not that you care, but that's what it is.
Well, it's not.
Nobody asked me, but
what was that?
Osworn.
Well, yeah, because you just got it
I'm very excited about
Kickstarter.
it.
It's the same game. Is it the same Oathsworn that I played before?
Yeah.
They're just like, ooh, give me more money and let you get these pieces.
No, they were saying, ooh, hey, for those of you who missed it the first time.
Oh, is that
the kindness of their heart?
Were they also allowing you to go back and get the nice upgraded pieces?
Of course.
Yeah, of course they were.
Of course they were.
Of course they were. Of course they were.
The question is, why did they go through the friendly local game stores?
Well, that's a conversation for a different episode, I'm sure, because I would love to give you my peace of mind on that as a board game store owner, and building communities is extremely important. And what better to play Oathsworn with three of your other friends? So, or four, I think. How many people can you play? I think it's four, right? You can play with four.
Yes.
5 total, right? Yeah.
That's right.
Whatever.
So, gentlemen, one last topic as we wrap up this inaugural show, and I've thoroughly tolerated our time together tonight. And
wow, tolerated our time.
Tolerated. Wow.
So let's wrap it up with one really good topic, and we'll leave it at that for tonight. Is one of the ideas that comes into the board game space is the injection of IPs and how they incorporate into the board game hobby. And so we have seen a huge injection in the last couple years of video game IPs coming to the board game space. And they've been met with a very fluctuating rate of interest from people. So recently it was just announced that EVE Online and RuneScape were also going to be coming out with board game copies, which seems to me to be absolutely wild of how they're going to do that. And I want to be critical of it, but there are games like The Witcher, which I've absolutely thoroughly enjoyed.
The Witcher is based on a book.
It is, but it's still, the game is what made it prominent. You have other games like Skyrim that was brought up earlier, and we can go through a list of games. But gentlemen, Deanne, we'll start with you. See, I'm trying to be classy. I'm trying to be classy now.
Speaked up. Yeah, you were like, yeah, since you speaked up, we're going to pick on you.
I felt a little intimidated, but Deanne, why don't we start with you of how do you feel about this injection of board games everywhere? Oh, with video games, I'm sorry.
Well, I think they did a very poor job before with games. And first of all, I love Fallout, but I think they failed miserably on making a Fallout board game. And coming from the video game background, it's very hard to take something that takes years of development to create this massive world and put it down into a little itty bitty box, right? So I have struggled with accepting the IP of a video game. I think they did horrible with Bloodborne.
Dark Souls.
I just wasn't a big fan of. I mean, and I never really liked the video game, to be honest. So I'm horrible at judgment on both of those. So I don't. Maybe Shay could speak more on Bloodborne or Dark Souls. But I can say recently, I was saying that about Skyrim when I got it on my shelf. I said, well, how are you going to take probably one of the best games ever created in Skyrim that I've probably have 180 hours into, not including the mods, and put it into a board game? I thought you would struggle with that. But from what I understand, they did a very, very good job. I haven't personally played it, but we did an unboxing on it, and the pieces all looked nice. The group that played it was extremely satisfied by playing. I mean, they were laughing and joking, and even people that I thought wouldn't enjoy it that sat at the table, said, hey, I really enjoy this. So I think with that being said, with Witcher, which again is not a video game, it's a book, but that's like saying Lords of the Ring. It's the same thing. So, but with video game IPs, I am not a huge fan of, realistically. And recently they've been doing a really good job, but it's a flip of a coin. I mean, you take your chance when you see that video game IP. Is this going to be what I want it to be? Pac-Man is horrible. Space Invaders is horrible.
Yeah. Stop right there. No. We're not saying that blasphemous stuff on this channel. Space Invaders is amazing. We'll talk about it later. Keep going.
It's the one guy who bought the game.
No. Go ahead, Shay. Since you've taken the mic, just go ahead.
Okay. Oh, I got you.
Because here's the thing. Like, there are games like Horizon. Now, I've not played Horizon Zero Dawn, but I've played the video game. But I heard the board game is fantastic. I personally like Slay the Spire is one I'm really looking forward to. Again, that is a card game, video game, so it's a little different, but I'm really excited to get my hands on that one. But
one of your favorite games, like Skytear. I mean, that's based on a MOBA video game.
It really is. Yeah, that's
Heroes
true.
of New Earth and League of Legends. I had production on Heroes of New Earth. Yeah, I plugged that one. Yeah, absolutely. That's where I work. Anyway, But those types of games were all based on that same mechanic of.
And the other thing, like Resident Evil, that just was released from Kickstarter.
We are playing that Monday,
so that one also got great reviews. So Shay, how does that incorporate into you outside of Space Invaders? Because we know you. Again, one of like 3 guys in America that played it, that loved it.
Okay, look. Okay, we're gonna stop bad. We're gonna bring it in. Space Invaders does exactly what Space Invaders need to do, and make you feel like you're playing a game of Space Invaders. You can get a high score. There's a living high score list in this shop right now. We have multiple people has played this game.
Is it like a list in your pocket?
No, it's a list.
On the board.
It'd be like, I'm number 1.
I mean, our group is, but
I think it's on the box, right? You keeping it on the box?
No, I'm keeping. I didn't want to mess up the box. I keep it on my phone until we actually get the Space Invader thing that we're going to put in. Space Invaders
like Poor Man's Falling Sky?
No, you would love it.
No,
because it's dexterity.
Is it?
No.
So it's not like Falling Skies where like you've got
look, Under Falling Skies is and this is why I'm trying to bring a point.
How is this dexterity?
No, because I can shoot. You already badmouthed it. I got you. Okay, so what you do is you have the invaders. You put a row of invaders from the top and another row, kind of like in Under Falling Skies, which is a great Space Invader game. But what you do is you have little tokens, and you literally try to line it up.
Space Invader's a great Falling Skies game,
and you click
chicken and egg here.
And that's the dexterity part. You got to try to line up, and you got to try to shoot the different Space Invaders. And there's this mothership that you got to also try to shoot into the little box. And it is a great time.
We can play Crocono.
Which, again, was one of the greatest games of all time.
But to answer the question, IP games it's not always going to be the best game in tabletop history. Like, I won't say Space Invaders is the best game, but I definitely get the feel of Space Invaders when I play Space Invaders. When I play a game like Skyrim, of course you can't put that big. You're not going to craft a whole bunch of stuff in Skyrim, and you can be a blacksmith and you have your own. But the game gives you that narrative feel of it, and so it makes it feel like it. Bloodborne, which they badmouth, Bloodborne is very good because you die many of times in Bloodborne, and you die, and you not only do you die forward. So when you die, you go into the hunter's dream like you do in the game. And so IP games back in the day, it used to be a cash grab. Let's be real. It used to be like a trivia game.
So your logic is, as long as they put elements of the video game in it, it's a good game.
As long as it has the feeling of it, it's a good IP game. Now, is it a good game?
Well, that's what he's asked. I mean, if you throw an IP on anything, Pac-Man, I don't know.
But you
doesn't make it a great game, even if you're going around eating dots the entire game.
But it's more of a feel. Like you can go to dots. Like for instance, Tetris. Tetris it's almost like the Connect 4 type of thing where you actually get pieces and you drop it in and you don't know the next piece because you flip a new card over. And so it gives you the feel of actual
The better
Tetris.
game is Project L or what's the other one? Right
I'll actually defend you here, Shay. I'll defend you because I will say one that I think has perfected it that came from that. Well, never mind. I can't defend you because I was thinking of Dune and I'm like, oh, that's a movie.
That's the movie.
I shot myself in the foot.
That's a whole nother question of IPs. They have totally cash grabbed on a lot of movie IPs. Dune was really good.
They did
a really good job. But again, it's the same thing with a flip of a coin. I mean, you just have to, if you love the video game, you buy the board game, you play it, and then you go, man, I really want to play the video game. And then you go back to the video game because it's a better experience. And most of the time, there hasn't been a board game that has an IP, and I haven't played Skyrim, but there hasn't been one that I go, man, I would rather play that than play the video game.
Dead by Daylight. I would rather play the board game than play the video game because I don't have to deal with sweats when I play the board game.
Well,
I haven't played that one, so
that'll actually lead to another question we'll ask down the road is injection of like all the apps with board games now, because I think that's going to be an interesting conversation. Games like Root, I think, is a great example of a game that I'll play on my, on the phone all the time, but I can't get people who will play that game with me.
Welcome to Boss Media Board Game Cafe. We have a Discord with over 200 members that would love to play Root with you.
Small plug. So with that, gentlemen, I think that's a good place for tonight. So for all of the viewers out there, we just want to say thank you for joining us, champions. We are the Champions of Tabletop. We'll be here every week. And gentlemen, I'm looking forward to the journey with both of you. And thanks for your time tonight. Thank you for your time. You could be doing anything in the world. I don't know why you chose to watch this, but we appreciate it. Just remember, click subscribe, like the channel, and become a part of this. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Peace and love.
Champions out.